The arrival, 2,000 words. The crimson skies of Earth blaze with an otherworldly light as the sleek, silver craft plummeted through the atmosphere. Inside, alarms blared and consoles sparked as Commander Zara of the Valorian Empire fought to maintain control of her failing ship. Status report. She barked, her four-fingered hands dancing over holographic displays. Lieutenant Kira, Zara's second-in-command, responded through gritted teeth. Primary engines offline. Auxiliary power at 12% and falling. We're going down hard, Commander. Zara's luminous green eyes narrowed as she surveyed the rapidly approaching landscape below. Dense forests stretched as far as she could see, broken only by the occasional glimmer of water. It wasn't an ideal landing zone, but it would have to do. Brace for impact, Zara shouted, and someone shut off those blasted alarms. The ship struck the tree line with devastating force, carving a brutal path through the wilderness. Ancient pines snapped like twigs beneath its hull. A cacophony of screeching metal and splintering wood filled the air as the vessel finally skidded to a halt in a small clearing. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, with a hiss of escaping pressure, the main hatch opened. Zara emerged, her tall, lithe form silhouetted against the smoke billowing from the crashed ship. She took a deep breath, analyzing the alien atmosphere. To her surprise, it was remarkably similar to that of her homeworld. "Well," she muttered, "at least we won't suffocate." One by one, the rest of her five-person crew staggered out of the wreckage. They were a motley assortment of the Empire's finest. Kira, the tactical expert, Nyx, the engineer, Lyra, the xenobiologist, and Vex, the communications specialist. All of them looked worse for wear, nursing various cuts and bruises, but they were alive. "Report," Zara commanded, her authoritative tone cutting through the daze of the crash. Nyx, her violet skin smudged with grease, spoke first. "The ship's in bad shape, Commander. We've lost primary power, and the hull integrity is compromised in multiple sections. We're not getting off this rock without some serious repairs." Zara nodded grimly. "Vex, what about communications? Can we contact the fleet?" The slender, silver-haired Valorian shook her head. "Negative, Commander. Our long-range comm array was destroyed in the crash. We're cut off." "Wonderful," Zara muttered. She turned to Lyra, whose wide, curious eyes were already darting around the alien landscape. "What can you tell me about this world?" Lyra consulted her wrist-mounted scanner. "Atmosphere is nitrogen-oxygen-based, similar to our own. Gravity is slightly higher, but within tolerable limits. Flora appears to be carbon-based. No immediate signs of intelligent life, but..." She trailed off, frowning at her readings. "But what?" Zara pressed. "There are trace elements in the air, pollutants consistent with an industrialized civilization. We may not be as alone here as we'd like." Zara absorbed this information, her mind racing. Their mission had been simple: conduct a covert survey of this backwater planet, assessing its potential for colonization or conquest. Now, they were stranded on its surface, their ship in ruins, and their presence almost certainly detected. "All right, listen up," she addressed her crew. "Our primary objective now is survival and repair. Nyx, focus on getting our power systems back online. Vex, see if you can cobble together some kind of short-range communicator. We need to be able to coordinate if we get separated. Lyra, I want a full analysis of our surroundings, flora, fauna, anything that might help us blend in or pose a threat. Kira, you're with me. We need to secure a perimeter and assess our tactical situation." As her crew set about their tasks, Zara allowed herself a moment of doubt. She had been trained for combat, for conquest, not for being stranded on an alien world. The Valorian Empire had encountered countless civilizations in its expansion across the galaxy, but few had posed any real challenge. This Earth was supposed to be no different, a primitive world ripe for the taking. Now, as she stood amidst the wreckage of her ship, surrounded by alien flora that seemed to pulse with life, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that they had grossly underestimated this planet. Hours passed as the Valorians worked to establish their makeshift base. Nyx managed to restore emergency power, allowing them to erect a force field around the crash site. It wouldn't hold up against a determined assault, but it would keep out any curious wildlife. As night fell, casting long shadows across the clearing, Zara called her crew together for a status update. "What have we learned?" she asked, her piercing gaze moving from one face to another. Lyra spoke first, her voice tinged with excitement despite their dire situation. "The biodiversity here is incredible, Commander. I've identified over 50 distinct plant species just in our immediate vicinity. The air is teeming with microscopic organisms, but our immune systems seem to be handling them well so far." Nyx chimed in next. "I've managed to reroute power to essential systems, but we're running on fumes. Without access to a compatible energy source, we'll be dead in the water in a matter of days." Vex's news wasn't much better. "I've cobbled together a short-range communicator, but it's crude. Range is limited to about 1 kilometer. As for our long-range systems, it's not good. We need materials we simply don't have to get them operational again." Kira, ever the pragmatist, cut to the heart of their predicament. "We're vulnerable here, Commander. If the natives are hostile and possess even moderately advanced technology, we could be in serious trouble." Zara nodded, taking it all in. "And what of signs of civilization? Have we seen anything concrete?" As if in answer to her question, a distant rumbling filled the air. The Valorians tensed, hands instinctively moving to their weapons. The sound grew louder, accompanied by a rhythmic thudding that shook the ground beneath their feet. "Defensive positions," Zara barked. Her crew scattered, taking cover behind trees and the wreckage of their ship. The tree line at the edge of the clearing began to sway, and then, with a tremendous crash, something burst through. Zara's eyes widened as she beheld the massive form of an earth creature. It stood on 4 legs, each as thick as a tree trunk, with a long serpentine neck topped by a relatively small head. Its body was covered in thick, leathery hide, and it moved with a grace that belied its enormous size. By the stars, Lyra breathed, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "It's some kind of sauropod, but that's impossible. They should be extinct." The creature paid them no mind, lumbering across the clearing to browse on the treetops at the far side. In its wake, the underbrush rustled, and a smaller form emerged. Zara felt her breath catch in her throat. It was unmistakably a sentient being. Bipedal, with 2 arms and a head, its body covered in some kind of protective clothing. In its hands, it held a device that Zara recognized as a primitive projectile weapon. The being's eyes widened as it took in the crashed ship, and the alien forms scattered around it. For a long moment, human and Valorian stared at each other in mutual shock. Then, to Zara's surprise, the human's face broke into a wide grin. It lowered its weapon and raised one hand in what seemed to be a gesture of greeting. "Well, I'll be damned," the human said, its voice carrying clearly across the clearing. "Looks like the conspiracy nuts were right after all. Hello there, spacemen, or space ladies, I suppose. Welcome to Jurassic Park. I can continue with part 2 if you'd like. How would you like me to proceed?" First contact, 2,000 words. The tension in the clearing was palpable as Zara and her crew faced the unexpected human arrival. The massive sauropod continued its peaceful grazing, oblivious to the historic first contact unfolding beneath it. Zara's mind raced, years of military training warring with her curiosity. This human didn't seem immediately hostile, but appearances could be deceiving. She made a quick decision. "Hold your fire," she commanded her crew in their native tongue, "but stay alert." Stepping forward, Zara addressed the human in its own language, thanks to their advanced universal translators. "I am Commander Zara of the Valorian Empire. Identify yourself and explain your presence here." The human's grin widened, seemingly unfazed by the alien before him. "Dr. Alex Chen, paleontologist and part-time dinosaur wrangler. As for my presence, well, this is kind of my backyard. The better question might be, what brings a group of extraterrestrials to our little prehistoric paradise? Zara blinked, caught off guard by the human's casual demeanor. We experienced a malfunction of our vessel. The crash was unintended. Alex nodded, his eyes roving over the wreckage of the ship. Yeah, I'd say that's a bit more than a malfunction. Looks like you folks could use a hand. Before Zara could respond, Lyra burst forward, her scientific curiosity overriding protocol. Excuse me, Dr. Chen, but did you say prehistoric? And what exactly is that magnificent creature? She gestured towards the sauropod. Alex's face lit up with enthusiasm. That, my alien friend, is an apatosaurus, a living, breathing dinosaur. Welcome to Isla Nublar, home to the world's first prehistoric wildlife preserve. The Valorians exchanged confused glances. Zara held up a hand, trying to make sense of the situation. I don't understand. Our intelligence suggested this planet was home to a modern, industrialized civilization. How is it you coexist with creatures from your world's ancient past? Alex chuckled. It's a long story involving ambitious billionaires, groundbreaking genetic engineering, and more than a few ethical debates. The short version is, we brought them back. Jurassic Park is a sanctuary where extinct species live again. Nix, who had been quiet until now, stepped forward. Fascinating as this is, it doesn't solve our immediate problem. Our ship is critically damaged, and we lack the resources to repair it. Without help, we'll be stranded here. Alex's expression grew serious. Well, we can't have that, can we? Look, I'm not exactly an expert in alien spacecraft, but I do have access to some pretty advanced technology. Maybe we can work something out. Zara narrowed her eyes, suspicious of the human's easy offer of assistance. And what would you want in exchange for this help? Oh, I don't know, Alex said with a mischievous glint in his eye. How about the chance to study extraterrestrial biology? The opportunity to learn about life beyond our planet. For a scientist like me, that's payment enough. Kira leaned in close to Zara, whispering urgently. Commander, we can't trust this human. For all we know, this could be a trap. We should neutralize him and find our own way off this island. Zara considered her options carefully. Their situation was dire, and while the human's offer seemed too good to be true, it might be their only chance. Plus, there was something about Dr. Chen's open curiosity that resonated with her own suppressed scientific interests. Very well, Dr. Chen, Zara said finally. We accept your offer of assistance, but be warned any attempt at betrayal will be met with severe consequences. Alex nodded solemnly, though the spark of excitement never left his eyes. Understood, Commander. Now, let's see about getting you folks some help. First things first, we should probably move your ship somewhere less exposed. Over the next few hours, Alex coordinated with the park's staff to move the Valorian ship to a secure facility. The humans used massive vehicles they called tractors to transport the wreckage, while Zara and her crew followed in a rugged transport Alex referred to as a jeep. As they drove through the lush prehistoric landscape, the Valorians were awestruck by the diversity of ancient life around them. Herds of duck-billed hadrosaurs grazed in open fields, while pterosaurs soared overhead. In a murky swamp, they glimpsed the massive form of a Spinosaurus fishing for prey. It's incredible, Lyra breathed, her face pressed against the jeep's window. An entire ecosystem reconstructed from the distant past. The scientific achievements required for such a feat, it's beyond anything we imagined humans capable of. Alex beamed with pride. We've come a long way in a short time. Of course, we've had our share of setbacks and near disasters. Turns out, bringing extinct predators back to life comes with some inherent risks. Zara, sitting in the front beside Alex, studied the human scientist closely. You speak casually of manipulating life itself. Does your species not consider the ethical implications of such power? Alex's expression grew thoughtful. Oh, we consider them constantly. There are entire committees dedicated to debating the ethics of what we do here. But in the end, we decided that the potential benefits, in terms of scientific knowledge, conservation efforts, and yes, even entertainment, outweighed the risks. They arrived at a large, fortified compound nestled in a valley. Alex explained that this was one of the park's research facilities, equipped with advanced laboratories and engineering workshops. It would serve as their base of operations while they worked on repairing the Valorian ship. As they entered the facility, Zara couldn't help but be impressed by the level of technology on display. While not as advanced as Valorian science in many areas, the humans had clearly made significant strides in fields like genetics and robotics. "All right, folks," Alex said, clapping his hands together. "Let's get you settled in, and then we can start assessing the damage to your ship. I've got a team of engineers standing by who are practically salivating at the chance to study alien technology." Nix stepped forward, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. "I would be glad to work with your engineers, but there are certain aspects of our technology that we cannot share. It could be dangerous in the wrong hands." Alex nodded understandingly. "Of course, we'll respect any restrictions you need to put in place. This is a collaborative effort, after all." As the Valorians were shown to their quarters, surprisingly comfortable rooms within the research facility, Zara pulled Alex aside for a private word. "Dr. Chen," she began, her tone serious, "I appreciate your hospitality, but I need to know, how much does your government know about our presence here? Are we going to have to deal with your military or intelligence agencies?" Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "That's complicated. Officially, the park operates as a private entity outside of direct government control. But unofficially, yeah, there are some folks in high places who are very interested in what goes on here. I've had to make a few calls, and let's just say that for now, we're operating under a need-to-know policy. As long as you folks don't pose a threat, we should be able to keep this relatively quiet." Zara nodded, relieved but still wary. "And what assurances do we have that you won't simply confiscate our technology once the repairs are complete?" "Commander," Alex said, meeting her gaze steadily, "I'm a scientist first and foremost. The chance to learn from you, to expand our understanding of the universe, that's worth more than any piece of hardware. I give you my word. We'll do everything in our power to help you leave safely when the time comes." Something in the human's earnest expression made Zara want to believe him. It was a strange feeling for the usually cautious commander. "Very well," she said finally. "We'll proceed with the repairs. But know this, my crew and I are trained warriors. If there is any hint of betrayal, we will not hesitate to defend ourselves." Alex grinned, seemingly unfazed by the threat. "Noted, Commander. Now, what do you say we get started? I don't know about you, but I'm dying to see what makes that ship of yours tick." As they walked towards the engineering bay, Zara found herself re-evaluating her preconceptions about humans. They were more complex, more advanced, and potentially more dangerous than the Valorian Empire had anticipated. This mission, she realized, had just become far more complicated than a simple survey. Little did she know, events were already in motion that would force both humans and Valorians to question everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. Cultural exchange, 2,000 words. As days turned into weeks, the Valorians found themselves settling into an unexpected routine on Isla Nubla. The repair work on their ship progressed slowly but steadily, with human and alien engineers working side by side to overcome the challenges posed by their vastly different technologies. Zara stood on a catwalk overlooking the main hangar, watching as Nix collaborated with a team of human scientists. The Valorian engineers' initial reluctance to share their technology had gradually given way to a cautious enthusiasm, fueled by the humans' insatiable curiosity and innovative problem-solving approaches. "Impressive, isn't it?" Alex's voice came from behind her. The human scientist joined her at the railing, his eyes bright with excitement. "I never thought I'd see the day when humans and aliens work together like this. It's like something out of a sci-fi novel." Zara nodded, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. "I must admit, your people have surprised us. Your technological capabilities, while still primitive in many areas, are far more advanced than our intelligence suggested." Alex chuckled. "Well, I'll take primitive as a compliment, considering you folks can travel between stars. But yeah, we humans have a knack for innovation, especially when we're presented with new challenges." As they spoke, an alarm blared through the facility. Zara tensed, her hand instinctively moving to her weapon, but Alex remained calm. "Relax," he said, gesturing towards a large display screen. "It's just feeding time for the carnivores. Want to watch? It's quite a spectacle." Curiosity overcame caution, and Zara found herself following Alex to a secure observation room. On multiple screens, she saw massive predators, Tyrannosaurus rex, velociraptors, and other fearsome creatures, being fed entire cows and goats. "By the stars," Zara breathed, both horrified and fascinated. "And you keep these monsters as attractions?" Alex nodded, his expression a mix of pride and concern. "It's a constant balance between scientific study, conservation, and yes, entertainment. These animals were extinct for millions of years. Bringing them back has taught us so much about evolution, ecology, and our own place in the natural world." Zara turned to face him, her expression serious. "But at what cost? The power to resurrect extinct species, to manipulate life itself, doesn't it concern you? In the wrong hands, such capabilities could be devastating." Alex's smile faded, replaced by a thoughtful frown. "Of course it concerns us. We've had our share of close calls and ethical debates. But that's the thing about scientific progress. It's a double-edged sword. The same technology that lets us bring back extinct species could also help us cure diseases, solve world hunger, maybe even terraform other planets someday." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Lyra, the Valorian xenobiologist. Her eyes were wide with excitement as she burst into the room. "Commander, Dr. Chen, you won't believe what we've discovered." She held up a datapad, displaying complex genetic sequences. "We've been comparing Valorian and human DNA, and there are similarities that defy explanation. It's as if our species might share a common ancestor." Alex's jaw dropped. That's impossible. You're from another star system, millions of light years away. How could we possibly be related?" Zara's mind raced with the implications. If true, this discovery could reshape the Valorian Empire's entire understanding of their place in the universe. "Are you certain, Lyra? Could this be some kind of error in the analysis?" Lyra shook her head emphatically. "We've triple-checked the results. There's no mistake. The similarities are too numerous and too specific to be mere coincidence." Alex ran a hand through his hair, his scientist's mind already formulating theories. "This could change everything we think we know about the origins of life in the universe. Panspermia, directed panspermia, or maybe even ancient astronauts." Zara finished, remembering some of the fringe theories they had encountered in their study of Earth culture. "You think our peoples might have had contact in the distant past?" Before Alex could respond, another alarm sounded, different from the feeding alert, more urgent. Red lights began flashing throughout the facility. "That's not good," Alex muttered, rushing to a nearby console. His fingers flew over the keys, bringing up security camera feeds. "Oh no. This is not happening again." Zara peered over his shoulder, her warrior instincts kicking in. "What's wrong? Are we under attack?" Alex's face had gone pale. "In a manner of speaking, there's been a containment breach in the raptor paddock. Those are some of our smartest and most dangerous predators. If they get loose in the park..." He didn't need to finish the thought. Zara had seen enough to understand the threat these prehistoric creatures posed. "What's the plan? How do we contain them?" Alex took a deep breath, visibly trying to calm himself. "We have protocols for this. Security teams will try to tranquilize and recapture them. But if that fails, if they make it to populated areas of the park, He trailed off, the implications clear. Zara made a quick decision. We'll help. My crew is trained for combat situations. We have weapons and tactics your security teams have never seen. For a moment, Alex looked like he might argue, but then he nodded gratefully. Thank you. We need all the help we can get. But please, try to capture them alive if possible. These animals are irreplaceable. As Zara called her crew to action, she couldn't help but marvel at the strange turn of events. They had come to this world as conquerors, only to find themselves defending it against threats from its own past. The next few hours were a blur of action and adrenaline. Zara and her team, working alongside the park's security forces, tracked the escaped velociraptors through the lush jungle terrain. The prehistoric predators proved to be even more cunning and dangerous than they had anticipated. Using their advanced sensors and tactical training, the Valorians managed to herd the raptors away from the park's main attractions. But cornering them for capture proved to be a deadly game of cat and mouse. In a heart-stopping moment, one of the raptors lunged at a human security officer. Without hesitation, Kira threw herself into the path of the attack, her reinforced armor absorbing the brunt of the raptor's slashing claws. With a well-placed stun blast, she incapacitated the creature. As the last of the raptors was finally contained, Zara found herself standing beside Alex, both of them breathing heavily from the exertion. That was intense, Alex panted, wiping sweat from his brow. I can't thank you enough for your help. You probably saved a lot of lives today. Zara nodded, a new respect for the human scientist evident in her eyes. Your people handled themselves well. I'm impressed by their bravery in the face of such terrifying creatures. Alex managed a weak smile. Yeah, well, when you work with dinosaurs, you kind of have to be prepared for anything. Still, having alien super soldiers on our side definitely tipped the scales in our favor. As they made their way back to the research facility, Zara found herself deep in thought. The events of the day had forced her to confront some uncomfortable truths. The humans, whom she had initially dismissed as primitive and weak, had shown remarkable resilience and adaptability. And the possibility of a shared ancestry between their species raised profound questions about the Valorian Empire's place in the galactic order. Back at the facility, as human and Valorian alike tended to their injuries and began the process of reviewing what had gone wrong, Zara pulled Alex aside for a private conversation. Dr. Chen, she began, her tone uncharacteristically hesitant. I owe you an apology. When we first arrived here, we had certain preconceptions about your species. I see now that we were wrong. Alex raised an eyebrow, a small smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Oh, and what's changed your mind? Our dazzling wit? Our rugged good looks? Zara couldn't help but chuckle at the human's irreverent humor. Your resilience, your creativity, your willingness to face the unknown, even when that unknown has teeth and claws. The Valorian Empire has encountered many species in its expansion across the galaxy, but few have impressed us as much as humans have in these past weeks. Alex's expression grew serious. Well, I appreciate that. But I hope you understand that if your empire has plans for Earth, you'll find we're not so easily conquered. We may not have your advanced technology, but we faced extinction-level threats before. We're survivors. Zara nodded sullenly. I'm beginning to see that, and I find myself questioning the wisdom of our empire's expansionist policies. Perhaps there is more to be gained through cooperation than conquest. As they stood there, human and Valorian, the weight of potential future relations between their species hung in the air. The cultural exchange that had begun with a crashed spaceship and resurrected dinosaurs was opening up possibilities neither side had imagined. Little did they know, events were already in motion that would put their newfound understanding to the ultimate test. For high above the Earth, the first ships of the Valorian invasion fleet were preparing to enter the solar system, unaware of the changes that had taken place on the blue planet below. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the fate of both species and perhaps the entire galaxy. The invasion begins, 2,000 words. The peaceful night sky above Isla Nublar erupted into chaos as the first wave of the Valorian invasion fleet breached Earth's atmosphere. Massive warships, their hulls gleaming under the moonlight, descended upon the planet with ominous purpose. Alarms blazed throughout the research facility, jolting Zara from a fitful sleep. She sprinted to the control room, her heart pounding with a mixture of dread and confusion. As she burst through the doors, she found Alex and her crew already gathered around the main display, their faces etched with concern. "What's happening?" Zara demanded, though deep down she already knew the answer. Alex turned to her, his usually cheerful face grim. "Your people are here, Commander, and they don't look like they've come for a friendly visit." On the screen, dozens of Valorian ships could be seen entering Earth's airspace. Smaller fighter craft swarmed around the larger vessels, forming attack formations. Kira stepped forward, her voice tight with tension. "It's the invasion fleet, Commander. They must have decided to proceed without waiting for our reconnaissance report." Zara's mind raced. This was all wrong. The invasion wasn't supposed to happen like this. They were supposed to have time to prepare, to assess Earth's defenses properly. And now that she had seen the true face of humanity, the thought of her people laying waste to this vibrant world filled her with horror. "We need to stop them," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Alex looked at her sharply. "Can you? Would they listen to you?" Zara squared her shoulders, decision made. "I have to try. If I can make contact with the fleet commander, explain what we've learned about Earth, maybe I can convince them to stand down." "And if they don't listen?" Lara asked, voicing the fear they all shared. "Then we fight," Zara declared, her eyes blazing with determination. "We fight to protect this world and its people." The Valorian crew exchanged glances, a mix of emotions playing across their faces. It was Kira who spoke first, stepping forward to stand beside her commander. "I'm with you, Zara," she said firmly. "What we've seen here, what we've learned, it changes everything. We can't let our people destroy something so precious." One by one, the other Valorians nodded their agreement. They had come to Earth as conquerors, but somewhere along the way, this strange, beautiful world had conquered their hearts instead. Alex watched this exchange with a mixture of hope and trepidation. "Well, I guess we're in this together then. But we're going to need a lot more than just your word to stop an alien invasion. Let me make some calls." As Alex rushed off to contact his superiors, Zara and her crew hurried to their ship. The repairs weren't complete, but it was functional enough for short-range flight and communication. They lifted off from the hangar, the jungle canopy parting beneath them as they ascended towards the invading fleet. Zara's hands trembled slightly as she opened a communication channel. "This is Commander Zara of the scout ship Nexus to Invasion Fleet. Hold your attack. I repeat, hold your attack. The situation on Earth is not as we believed. We need to reassess our strategy." For a long moment, there was only static. Then, a familiar voice crackled through the speakers. "Commander Zara, we had begun to fear you lost." The stern tones of Fleet Admiral Vex filled the cockpit. "Explain yourself. Why have you not submitted your reconnaissance report?" Zara took a deep breath. "Admiral, our ship was damaged upon arrival. We've spent the past weeks repairing and learning about this world. Sir, the humans are not the primitive species we thought they were. They're advanced, resilient, and possess technology in some areas that rivals our own. More importantly, we have reason to believe that our species may share a common ancestry." There was a long pause. When Vex spoke again, his voice was cold with suspicion. "You sound compromised, Commander. Perhaps your time among the humans has clouded your judgment. Stand down and prepare to be boarded. We will proceed with the invasion as planned." Zara's heart sank. She'd have feared this might happen, but she had hoped that logic and reason would prevail. "I'm sorry, Admiral, but I can't do that. I cannot in good conscience allow the destruction of this world. Please just give me a chance to show you what we've discovered. This is treason, Zara, Vex growled. You leave me no choice. All ships, target the rebel vessel. Destroy it. Zara's tactical training kicked in as she saw the nearest warships turning their weapons towards a small craft. Evasive maneuvers, she shouted, pulling the ship into a steep dive. Energy beams lanced through the space they had just occupied. Kira, at the weapons console, returned fire, but their shots merely splashed harmlessly against the larger ship's shields. We can't win this fight, Nix called out from engineering. Our weapons are no match for their defenses. Just as it seemed their situation was hopeless, a new voice crackled over their communications system. Valorian vessels, this is General Williams of Earth's United Defense Force. You are in violation of our airspace and have committed an act of war against our planet. Stand down immediately or face the consequences. Zora's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected Earth to mobilize a response so quickly. On her view screen, she saw squadrons of human fighter jets rising to meet the Valorian ships. While technologically inferior, they moved with a coordination and skill that gave her hope. Admiral Vex's mocking laugh filled the channel. You dare to threaten us humans. Your primitive weapons are no match for the might of the Valorian Empire. Prepare to be conquered. What happened next took everyone by surprise. As the Valorian ships opened fire on the human fighters, their energy weapons suddenly flickered and died. Confusion reigned as ship after ship reported power failures and system malfunctions. What's happening? Zara demanded, watching in amazement as the mighty Valorian fleet began to drift helplessly in the sky. It was Alex's voice that answered, triumphant and a little smug. A little surprise we cooked up while repairing your ship. We discovered a vulnerability in your power systems, a specific electromagnetic frequency that disrupts your energy flow. Looks like it works on a larger scale, too. Zora couldn't help but laugh, equal parts impressed and chagrined. You clever, sneaky humans. You were studying our weaknesses all along. Hey, can you blame us? Alex replied. We had to have some kind of defense plan in case you folks decided to go all War of the Worlds on us. As the disabled Valorian ships began to descend, guided by tractor beams from hastily deployed human vessels, Zara knew that everything had changed. The invasion had failed before it truly began, not through superior firepower, but through human ingenuity and the betrayal, or perhaps awakening, of their own advanced team. Admiral Vex's furious voice cut through the chaos. Commander Zara, what have you done? You've doomed our people to defeat at the hands of these primitives. Zara straightened in her seat, her voice firm as she responded. No, Admiral. I saved our people from making a terrible mistake. The humans are not our enemies. They could be our greatest allies if we're willing to approach them with open minds and peaceful intentions. As Valorian and human ships alike descended towards impromptu landing zones, Zara felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. The path ahead would not be easy. There would be distrust, diplomatic challenges, and cultural clashes to overcome. But for the first time since crash landing on this strange, wonderful world, she felt truly hopeful about the future. She turned to her crew, seeing her own mix of relief and apprehension mirrored in their faces. Well, she said with a small smile, I guess we've got some explaining to do. To both sides. As they prepared to land, Zara's thoughts turned to the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. They had come to Earth seeking conquest, and found instead a reason to question everything they thought they knew. Now, standing on the brink of a new era of interstellar relations, she realized that the true adventure was only just beginning. The invasion had failed, but in its failure lay the seeds of something far greater. The potential for two vastly different civilizations to learn from each other, to grow together, and perhaps to unravel the mysteries of their shared origins among the stars. Humanity's stand, 2,000 words. In the days following the failed invasion, Earth became a hive of activity. The skies, once filled with hostile Valorian warships, now buzz with a mix of human and alien craft working in uneasy cooperation. Makeshift diplomatic centers sprang up around the globe as world leaders scrambled to address the new reality of confirmed extraterrestrial contact. Zara found herself at the center of it all, a reluctant bridge between two worlds. She stood now in a hastily assembled war room, surrounded by a mix of human military officials, scientists, and her own crew. The atmosphere was tense, filled with a mixture of excitement, fear, and lingering distrust. "Let me get this straight," General Williams said, his weathered face creased with concern. "You're saying there's a chance the Valorian Empire might send a second invasion force?" Zara nodded grimly. "It's a distinct possibility. The Empire isn't accustomed to failure. They may view this setback as a challenge rather than a sign to retreat." Alex, who had been poring over data on a tablet, looked up. "But we've got their weakness figured out now. Can't we just use the same electromagnetic disruption technique if they come back?" "It's not that simple," Nix interjected. "Now that they know about the vulnerability, they'll be working to shield against it. We can't count on the same trick working twice." The room fell into worried murmurs. Humanity had barely survived the first invasion attempt. How could they hope to withstand a second, more prepared assault? Zara's voice cut through the noise. "We don't have to face this alone. I've been in contact with some sympathetic elements within the Valorian government. There are those who question the wisdom of our expansionist policies. If we can buy some time, there's a chance we could negotiate a peaceful resolution." General Williams scoffed. "Negotiate with an empire that tried to conquer us." "It's better than the alternative," Zara shot back. "An all-out war between Earth and the Valorian Empire would be devastating for both sides." As the argument heated up, a young lieutenant burst into the room. "Sir, we're detecting multiple objects entering the solar system. They're massive." All eyes turned to the main display. Sure enough, a swarm of dots was visible, approaching Earth at an alarming speed. "The second wave," Kira breathed. "They're here sooner than we expected." General Williams straightened, his voice taut with tension. "How long do we have?" The lieutenant swallowed hard. "At their current speed, they'll reach Earth orbit in less than 6 hours." A heavy silence fell over the room. 6 hours to prepare for what could be humanity's last stand. It was Alex who broke the silence, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "Well then, we'd better get to work. We've got a planet to save." What followed was a whirlwind of activity. Zara and her crew worked feverishly with Earth's scientists and engineers, sharing what they knew of Valorian tactics and technology. Plans were drawn up, discarded, and redrawn as they sought any advantage they could find. Meanwhile, governments around the world mobilized their militaries. Civilian populations were evacuated from major cities, moved to underground shelters in a scene reminiscent of Cold War drills. As the deadline approached, Zara found herself standing on the roof of the command center, gazing up at the stars. Soon, those peaceful points of light would be obscured by the ships of her own people, coming to rain destruction upon this world she had come to love. "Penny for your thoughts." Alex's voice came from behind her. Zara turned, offering a weak smile. "I was just thinking about how strange fate can be. A few months ago, I would have been leading this invasion, not trying to stop it." Alex moved to stand beside her, his shoulder brushing against hers. "People change. Perspectives change. That's what makes us sentient beings, I suppose. The capacity to learn, to grow, to challenge our own beliefs." "You humans certainly excel at that," Zara said softly. "Your adaptability, your creativity in the face of overwhelming odds. It's unlike anything I've seen in all my travels across the galaxy." Alex grinned. "Well, we've had plenty of practice. Seems like every other year we're facing some world-ending catastrophe. Aliens, asteroids, climate change. We're kind of the universe's punching bag." Despite the gravity of the situation, Zara found herself chuckling. and yet you always seem to bounce back. Their moment of levity was interrupted by the shrill sound of alarms. In the distance, streaks of light began to appear in the sky, the first signs of the Valorian fleet entering the atmosphere. "Showtime," Alex muttered, his face set with determination. As they rushed back to the command center, Zara felt a surge of resolve. She had made her choice. Earth was her home now, and she would defend it with every fiber of her being. The battle that followed would be remembered for generations as one of the most extraordinary events in human history. The skies above every major city on the planet became a kaleidoscope of energy weapons, missiles, and explosions as Earth's combined military forces engaged the Valorian invasion fleet. True to Nix's prediction, the electromagnetic disruption technique was less effective this time, but it had bought Earth valuable time to prepare other defenses. Hastily retrofitted human fighters, enhanced with Valorian technology, darted between the massive alien warships, exploiting weaknesses that Zara and her crew had revealed. On the ground, things were equally chaotic. Valorian dropships managed to land troops in several locations, leading to intense urban combat. But here too, the humans proved their worth. What they lacked in advanced weaponry, they made up for in sheer determination and home field advantage. Zara found herself in the thick of the fighting, leading a mixed team of human special forces and her own crew. They moved through the ruined streets of Washington, D.C., engaging Valorian shock troops and protecting key strategic locations. As she ducked behind a collapsed wall, narrowly avoiding a blast of energy fire, Zara caught sight of Alex. The scientist had insisted on joining the fight, armed with a prototype weapon of his own design, a sort of electromagnetic pulse gun that could short-circuit Valorian battle armor. "Having fun yet?" Alex called out, his face streaked with dirt and sweat, but his eyes alight with adrenaline. Zara couldn't help but smile even as she returned fire at the advancing Valorian troops. "Is this how all your first contact scenarios go?" "Nah." Alex grunted, firing off a pulse that sent a Valorian soldier crumpling to the ground. "Sometimes we skip straight to the take me to your leader part." Their banter was cut short as a massive explosion rocked the area. Looking up, they saw one of the Valorian capital ships listing in the sky, smoke pouring from a gaping hole in its side. A cheer went up from the human forces as the enormous vessel began to descend, ultimately crashing into the Atlantic Ocean miles from the coast. It was a turning point in the battle. Seeing one of their indestructible behemoths fall seemed to shake the Valorian forces' confidence. Their attacks became more desperate, less coordinated. Seizing the moment, Zara made a decision. "Cover me," she told Alex, before activating her comlink. "This is Commander Zara to all Valorian forces. Stand down. I repeat, stand down. This invasion is over." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, gradually, the sounds of battle began to diminish. Valorian soldiers looked to each other in confusion, unsure whether to obey the order of a commander they had been told was a traitor.